So please join me for the peace chant. Om Bhadram Karnebhi Srinuyama Devaah Bhadram Pashyemakshabhir Yajatraah Sthirairangai Stushtvagam Sastanubhihi Vyashema Devahitai Yadayuh Swasti na Indro Vriddhashravah Swasti na Pusha Vishwavedah Swasti nastarksho arishtanemihi Swasti no brihaspatir dadhatu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. This morning we did what is the most important mantra in not only this Upanishad, which is probably the smallest, it is the shortest and the most important of the most powerful of the Upanishads. The most important mantra, which is mantra number 7. So mantra number 7, we can go ahead to that. We did this in the morning. And not only in this Upanishad, but I think this passage, this text is probably the most profound description or pointing towards our ultimate nature. So let's just chant it again. Please follow me. Nanta pragyam na bahish pragyam, Nanta pragyam na bahish pragyam, No bhayata pragyam, No bhayata pragyam, Na pragyana ghanam, Jnana ghanam, Na pragyam, Na pragyam, Adrishyam abhyavaharyam, Agrahyam alakshanam, Agrahyam alakshanam, Achintyam abhyapadeshyam, Achintyam abhyapadeshyam, Ekatma pratyasaram, Ekatma pratyasaram, Prapanchopashamam shantam, Prapanchopashamam shantam, Shivamadvaitam, Chaturtham manyante, Sa atma savigneyaha, Sa atma savigneyaha. So the self has 4 aspects, 3 of which are well known to us: the waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. By the waking, I mean the waker and the world that we experience, the waker's world, dreamer and the dream world, and deep sleeper and the darkness, the potential darkness of deep sleep. Those 3 aspects are well known to us. We all experience it. And what is trying to be pointed out, what we're trying to investigate and discover, is this underlying reality, underlying these 3 states, that is the 4th. So it says, Chaturtham manyante, it is said to be the 4th, but it's actually not the 4th. We know this now. Many people don't understand it, because the way the 4th is spoken of, many people who have a preliminary acquaintance with Advaita Vedanta think that, all right, there is the waker and the dreamer and the deep sleeper, and there's something else, something beyond this, some separate thing called the 4th. No. It's not a separate thing. No more than gold is a different kind of ornament. Gold is the reality of the ornaments, is the material, is the substance of the ornaments. Similarly, consciousness, existence, consciousness, bliss is our foundational reality, is what we truly are. It's the screen on which the movies of waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. Deep sleep is not a movie, it's like the movie switched off. And waking and dreaming are movies, they play, they come and go. But the background, the reality is what we are, existence, consciousness, bliss. What is it? This mantra, as we saw in the morning, can be divided into 3 parts. 2 parts are neti, not this, the method of negating. And the last part is a positive way of pointing out. The first 2 parts negate the knower and the known, subject and object, in each of the 3 states. In each of the 3 states, there are these pairs, knower and known. And we know that the pairs are again of 2 types, individual and cosmic, us and all taken together. Nanta pragyam na bahish pragyam. It is not the inwardly oriented consciousness, not the extroverted consciousness, which means it's not the dreamer, it's not the waker. Na pragyam, no bhayata pragyam, nothing in between, Na pragyam, it is not the deep sleeper. It is not na pragyanaghanam, it means not the deep sleeper. Na pragyam does not mean some kind of omniscient awareness. Na apragyam does not mean that there is no consciousness, not even that. Adrishyam, not an object of any of the five senses. You cannot see it, hear it, smell it, taste it, or touch it. Alakshanam, you cannot infer it. Agrahyam, it cannot be made an object of our five organs of action. Avyavaharyam, it cannot be bought into transaction. Literally, if you translate that, it means useless. That means the ultimate reality, Brahman, is useless. Remember, though in itself it is not bought into any transaction, it is the foundation of all transactions. In itself, it does not do anything. But because of it, because of that consciousness, we are able to do everything. See, hear, smell, taste, touch, think, remember, study Vedanta. All of this is in the light of consciousness, which in itself does not do these things. Avyavaharyam. Beyond language, abhyapadeshyam. You remember the five factors of language and why they cannot be applied here. Beyond thought, you cannot conceive of it. All thought is illumined by it, but thought cannot illumine it. Ekatma pratyasaram. It can be only known by inquiry into the notion of I. When the notion of I refers to body-mind, ignorance, samsara. When it refers to the witness consciousness, the fourth, then that is liberation. Ekatma pratyasaram. Prapanchopashamam. Beautiful term. The silence of the universe, the cessation of the universe. Oh, what's that? You. That's what you truly are. That's where the universe ends. Shantam, peace itself. That's our name, Shantam, peace itself. Beyond all suffering. Shivam, auspiciousness or bliss, fulfillment, complete everlasting fulfillment. That's what we already are, just don't know it. Advaitam, non-dual. Apart from you, the real you, there is no second thing. Though everything appears, none of it is apart from you. None of it exists apart from you. Whatever we see in the waking world, whatever we see in the dream, and all that we do not see in the deep darkness of deep sleep, all three are not a second thing apart from you. Just as the thousands of waves in the ocean are not a second thing apart from water. So you, the real you, Chaturtham manyante, said to be the fourth, thought of to be the fourth. Thought of by whom? Not by us. By the people who are ignorant of Mandukya Upanishad. They think there is a fourth. But we know it's the fourth only with reference to waker, dreamer, deep sleeper. But actually it is the one. Because those three are not a second apart from it. Waker, dreamer, and deep sleeper are appearances in my real nature. Just as gold is not a fourth kind of ornament. There is one ornament, necklace, there's another ornament, a bracelet, there's a third ornament, a tiara. But gold is not a fourth ornament. Gold is the reality of those three ornaments. So what? All this is nice. Sa Atma, that is you. We are talking about you. Now you can't say so what. Sa Atma. Savigneyaha. This has to be realized. Realized means not only just heard about or talked about or read about or listened to about in a lecture, but we must honestly be able to say, I not only get it, but now I know it's true. I am that. Then it's done. Then it's done. Then just a question of manifesting that life. Now what Gaudapada proceeds to do, remember the text. The Upanishad itself is very short, 12 mantras. But the great teacher of Shankaracharya's teacher, Gaudapada, he wrote a set of verses on this called the Karikas, and that's in 4 chapters. So we have not looked at the Karikas yet. Now we're going to look at some of these Karikas, some of the verses composed by Gaudapada. Very beautiful verses. What is he going to do now? This 7th mantra is, of course, very important. It is the most important thing in the whole text. So you would expect Gaudapada will stop here and consider what went on. Whatever we have got now, Gaudapada is going to investigate that, is going to discuss that in the next few Karikas. So we'll go to Karika number 10, which is the next one here. The poetry is also very simple and beautiful. Karika 10. You can follow me. Nivritte sarva dukkhanam, nivritte sarva dukkhanam, ishanah prabhuravyaya, ishanah prabhuravyaya, advaita sarva bhavanam, advaita sarva bhavanam, devasturyo vibhusmritaha, devasturyo vibhusmritaha. In this turiya, so look at he's using the word turiya now. The word turiya, which means the fourth, has not been used in the original Upanishad, but Gaudapada introduces it. So in this turiya, he says, it is indicated as the changeless and the supreme Lord. There is a cessation of all miseries. It is the one without a second among all entities. It is known as the turiya, fourth, effulgent and all-pervading. All right, what does this mean? Nivritte sarva dukkhanam. It is the cessation of all suffering. What is the cessation of all suffering? Our real nature. If only we would know ourselves as we truly are. So in Indian philosophy, when we discuss suffering, one way is to talk about the three kinds of suffering, one classification. Adhyatmika, which refers to the body-mind, suffering which comes from one's own body-mind. Illness, physical, depression, unhappiness, mental. This is suffering from one's own body-mind. This is adhyatmika dukkha. It's one kind of suffering. The second kind of suffering is adhibhautika, suffering which comes from other living beings. In classical texts, they'll talk about the suffering caused by the mosquito and the tiger. So neither mosquitoes and tigers here, but suffering caused by other beings. Maybe this annoying person who's your neighbor, or maybe your boss in the office, or somebody who causes you suffering. So suffering caused by other living beings, human beings and other beings. And finally, adhidaivika dukkha, the suffering caused by natural factors, hurricanes and earthquakes and too much cold or too much heat or whatever. Three kinds of suffering: natural suffering, suffering from other living beings, and our own internal body-mind suffering. Of course, you may say that, isn't it true whether it's suffering caused by nature or suffering caused by other people? Ultimately, it has to come to my body and mind. It has to affect me physically too, or mentally, to make me suffer. That's true. That's true. Ultimately, suffering is at the level of the body and mind. In fact, ultimately at the level of the mind. It's only when the mind recognizes suffering, I say, I am in pain. But just for the sake of classification, three kinds of suffering. And it says, sarva dukkhanam, all suffering comes to an end when we realize that we are this fourth, we are this pure consciousness. But this has to be understood carefully. All suffering comes to an end. So I'm prone to headaches. So will my headaches be cured when I'm enlightened? I'm very poor. So will my poverty all my debts will be paid off, my credit card debts and all, when I'm enlightened? Or there's certain things which I want in life, money and fame and success, and I'm unhappy because I don't get them. So when I'm enlightened, will all those problems be taken care of? No. I'm sorry to disappoint. Some of you looked expectant. Maybe. No. The Buddha put it very beautifully. He said the nature of suffering. What is the nature of suffering? He said, it's like a man hit by an arrow. Imagine the burning and the stinging sensation, you're hit by an arrow, and immediately afterwards hit by another arrow. So imagine the suffering. 2 arrows. What is the first arrow? The first arrow is what the world throws at you. Whatever happens in the world and what happens to you in the world, in your community, in your personal relationships, in your health, whatever is happening in the world, that's the first arrow. The second arrow is much worse. It's our reaction to it all. That is the real suffering. That's the real suffering. The real suffering is how we react. And the Buddha says what he is going to teach, that means the whole teaching of Buddhism, that will remove the suffering caused by the second arrow, not the first one. Very gentleman-like, he says, I cannot do anything about the first arrow. That comes by our karma. And for that, there are worldly remedies. Ill health, you can practice Hatha Yoga. If you have money problems, you can borrow. No, don't borrow. That's a very New York solution too. So there are worldly solutions for all our worldly problems for the first arrow, and none of them work. That's the thing. None of them really work. If they really worked, if I have ill health and there's some short solution, then I should be cured of ill health forever. Not at all. Nobody ever has been. If I'm hungry and if I eat, has hunger gone forever? Of course not. Afternoon, brunch, then dinner, then next morning. So it doesn't go away. There is no final solution for suffering in the world, the first arrow, and there is no absolutely guaranteed solution. There is no complete fulfillment in this world. So the first arrow is going to come. As long as we are alive, because of our past karma, the first arrow is going to come. But what we can deal with is the second arrow. Where is the maximum suffering? Almost all the suffering is caused by the second arrow. We know this. In life, we see people who have got maybe everything in life, very unhappy. Who have hardly anything in life, bubbling with joy. It's not so much what happens to us in life. There was one of the greatest scientific thinkers of our time, Stephen Hawking, absolutely paralyzed and confined to his wheelchair. Another scientist, so this is physically devastated, body is not functioning at all, but mind is brilliant. These are mental problems or worse. Not necessarily. There was this book and a movie, The Beautiful Mind, John Nash, the mathematician, deeply schizophrenic. He won the Nobel Prize. Of course, for most of the work he did beforehand, but even then he continued to be productive. He was still working in Princeton University. So even with a devastated man, and all of this is not original to me. I remember I attended a medical conference where a psychiatrist, he was giving a talk, and he was saying that in spite of the worst hurdles, and he gave an example of Stephen Hawking and John Nash, one where the body is devastated, another where the mind is devastated, and they reach some of the heights of human achievement. So it's possible. And the opposite is also possible. Everything is perfect. Perfect health, youth, money, fame, and everything is there, just ruins its life. And there are examples like that. Maybe commits suicide or something like that. So the first arrow is coming to every one of us. And the second one is what we have to deal with. In that same medical conference, a doctor was talking about pain. And he drew 3 concentric circles, small circle, middle circle, and bigger, wider circle. He said pain, the suffering caused by pain, 20% of it is actually physical. Actually what we feel, the inner circle, 20%. The acute pain which we feel. And then the middle circle is the distress caused by pain. It's going to hurt, expecting, even before it starts hurting. Or worn down by continuous chronic pain. That is the middle circle. That's psychological. And then the outer circle is the social distress caused by it. I can't go to a function, I can't go to a party, I can't do this or that. I'm so disadvantaged by my pain. So he says, notice 20% is actually physically felt. 80% of our suffering is mental, psychological. And he says, painkillers. He said, I'll let you into a dirty little secret of the pharmaceutical industry. Painkillers try, and unsuccessfully at that, to address that 20%. And they can never do anything about the other 80%. It's the second arrow which the Buddha talked about. So the real suffering is there. And when we realize this nature that I am this pure consciousness beyond all suffering, where is suffering? At the level of the body. It's an object to me. It comes and goes. It's not me. Even when it is there, I can honestly say, yes, there is a pain, but it's not me. I can see it like a thing here. There was Swami Shivananda, one of the, in our order, he was the second president of the Ramakrishna order, a disciple of Sri Ramakrishna. So in his old age, when he was the president, he had many problems, asthma and other problems in his body. So he's the head of the order. Some monk came and one day asked him, they had heard that last night he had been unable to sleep, there was uneasiness in the body and pain and all. Next morning, one of the monks asked him, Swami, Maharaj, they say Maharaj, Maharaj, how are you? Oh, I'm fine. But we heard that you were so unwell, and last night we heard, oh, you mean the body, not fine at all, not well at all. You see, very naturally, I'm fine. Oh, the body, oh, it's no good. I've seen many of these examples. So you can clearly see it's not escapist. They're clearly aware of the problems in the body. And the doctors are doing their best and therapies are going on. But I'm also at a deep level, I know I'm all right. It's perfectly all right. It's the movie. It's a tragedy playing out on the screen, but the screen is not feeling tragic. So that is nivritte sarva dukkhanam, cessation of all sufferings, when you realize I am that pure consciousness. How does it work? If I know that I am the witness consciousness, how does it help me to transcend pain? How does it cure the suffering caused by the second arrow? One way, three ways of looking at it. One way is the very nature of consciousness. Consider light. It's like light. Prakasha Swarupa. Light, Prakasha in Sanskrit means illumination or light. It illumines everything, but it is not affected by the things it illumines. It can illumine the water there. So much water. The light, sunlight falls on it and reveals it to you. But the sunlight doesn't become wet because of the water. It can reveal the terrible fires burning in Australia. But the light is not affected by the fires. It can reveal something very dirty, maybe water in a drain. It can reveal the pure water of the Ganges. But the light itself is not made impure by the water in the drain. It's not made pure by the water in the Ganges. No. It is not affected but by what it reveals. Consciousness is like light. I'm not saying consciousness is suddenly start glowing when you become enlightened. I mean, you may look, your face may glow, but that's a different kind of glow, not like glowing in the dark radium or something like that. So that consciousness, it illumines. And what it illumines, it's not affected by it. If there is a pain in the body, it illumines, it reveals there's a pain in the body. But the enlightened person will not say, I am in pain. I am the witness of a pain in the body. You may say that's a strange way of looking at it. It's not strange. It's the actual fact. What we do normally is, we do not think of ourselves as consciousness. We think of ourselves as this. And the moment there's a pain here, ouch, I am in pain. Here's a pain, and I am this, so I am in pain. Depression, unhappiness. Oh, I am so unhappy. Are you? Isn't it that you are aware of this deeply unhappy feeling rising in the mind? Yes. Before this it was there, after this it will not be there. You, the consciousness, are you unhappy or are you aware of unhappiness? You're aware of unhappiness. But you in yourself, the awareness is not unhappy. So, because your nature is like light, in the evening, when we do the arati here, the last thing the Swami chants is, Na tatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam. It's a beautiful mantra from the Kathopanishad. That is not illumined by the sun. There the moon does not shine, nor lightning. What to speak of this mortal fire? Tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam. That shining, everything else shines. Tasya bhasa sarvam idam vibhati. By its light, all that is here is lit up. That shining means you shining. Everything else shines. Everything else shines means your mind, first of all, your mind is lit up. Then through the mind, the body and the sense organs are lit up. And through this body-mind, you light up the entire world and you experience the world. But you shining, everything else shines afterwards. By your light, everything in this universe is lit up. Swami, you're saying nice things about me, but isn't it a bit too much? By my light? No, there's so many lights here. True. Close your eyes. Where are all those lights? They are lights only when you see them. And your seeing is also there only because your mind is behind your eyes. And your mind also works because you, the consciousness, are lighting up the mind. It's worth thinking about. Your nature is like consciousness, is like light. That's one reason why you are not affected by the things that you illumine. Just as light is not affected by the things it illumines, you are not affected by the things you illumine. Another reason why you are not, another way of looking at it, how do you transcend suffering? Asanga. You are not, nothing sticks to you. I mentioned it yesterday. Nothing sticks to you. When you reveal something, it does not stick to you. Whether it's a person, an object, a place, an experience, a pain, a pleasure, a taste, a smell, a touch, something you see or hear, none of them stick to you. They come and go. You shine. So even the worst of suffering does not stick to you. And if it does not stick to you, it has no relationship with you. It only appears, dances in your light, and disappears. When it comes, you can say hello. If it's a pain, you can't really say welcome. It would not be very honest. But you can at least say hello, there you are again. It'll stay for some time, and then it'll disappear and go, all right, let it go. You are asanga, unattached. To what? To anything in this world. That is another reason why your nature transcends pain. Another reason why, the third one, how you transcend pain, satya mithya. The reality is not affected by the appearance. The rope does not become poisonous because you imagine it, mistake it to be a snake. The desert does not become wet because the mirage water appears there. Shankaracharya says, all the water in the mirage is not enough to wet one grain of sand in the desert. That which is false cannot affect that which is real. This entire world, what is the world? Waking world, dream world, and deep sleep. None of it affects you, the witness consciousness, because it is not of the same order of reality which you are. In Vedanta, you are paramarthika reality, the absolute reality. And this world is called vyavaharika, transactional reality. It appears, shines, and disappears in your light. It cannot affect you. The false cannot affect the real. You say, no, Swami, people are traumatized by suffering. What is traumatized? The mind. The mind is traumatized. But you are the witness of the pre-traumatized mind and the traumatized mind. And in between the traumatized mind, there will be gaps when you are not aware of the trauma. And then when the traumatized mind goes to sleep, you are aware of the absolute blankness and peacefulness of the resting mind. When it wakes up, it may again remember the trauma. It wakes up suddenly aware, oh, I'm traumatized, supposed to be horrible. I'm in trauma, oh, I'm horrible. Then it starts working again. But you, the consciousness, you are not traumatized. You never were. So, because you are like light, therefore you are not affected by suffering. Because you are unattached, asanga, therefore you are not affected by suffering. Because you are real and the suffering body, mind are appearances in you, therefore you are not affected by suffering. Ishana, Prabhuravyaya. So these words which are used, Ishana normally refers to God. Prabhu is another word which refers to God. But in this case, it refers to the Turiya, the pure consciousness, which we are. Shankaracharya comments, here the Lord means that one which is beyond all suffering. Because you are beyond all suffering, therefore you are the Lord, the fourth pure consciousness. Prabhu also here refers not to God, but to you, the pure consciousness. Avyaya, each of these words very deep. Avyaya means unchanging. So traditionally there are 6 kinds of changes talked about. Shadavikara, or 6 modifications, 6 kinds of changes. One is Jayate, birth. So we are born, the body is born. And having been born now comes into existence. What was not there, I did not exist as this person, as this body. Now I exist as this person. That's another change. Jayate asti. So second change is, I come into being as this after being born. Third is vardhate, I develop. Baby and child and teenager, I'm developing, growing. The body is growing and changing. The next change is viparinamate. It reaches a plateau of development, middle age, and you continue at that level. And then begins apakshiyate, deterioration, inevitable. I'm sorry, but inevitable. No matter how much, if you do a lot of hatha yoga and gluten-free, then it will be managed. It will be managed. The decline will be a managed decline, which is good. Common sense decline, you should do that. If you have a car, why will you not take care of it? If you don't take care of it, it will fall apart faster. But we cannot stop it. Nobody can stop it. Old age will come. That which seemed effortless when you are young did not take any maintenance. Now you can still have the same thing, but it takes a lot of maintenance, a lot of work. One doctor said, Swami, now with the latest modern technology in medicine, we can almost guarantee that you will live long, but we cannot guarantee you will live well. So, an inevitable decline comes, apakshiyate, and finally death. Inevitable. For all that is born, death is certain. So, nashyati. 6 changes. And it says, this consciousness, the fourth, is free of all of these 6 changes. It's not born. It's not that it did not exist and comes into existence. It's not that it develops. The body develops. The mind matures. But this consciousness, it's not that it develops. It's always the constant shining light, like that. It's not that it matures. It's not that it deteriorates, and not that it dies. Free of the 6 changes. Advaita sarva bhavanam. Another profound phrase. Non-dual in the midst of dualities. In the midst of all pluralities, it's still non-dual. See, one kind of non-duality is present in deep sleep. In deep sleep, the duality of subject and object is not experienced. Here we experience a duality. Here I am, and here is the world, full of so many things which seem to be different from me. Duality, plurality. In dreams also it appears like that. In deep sleep it does not appear like that. There is no subject-object. It's all mushed together into a mass of no distinction. So it seems featureless and blank. So why do you say it seems featureless and blank? It is featureless and blank. No. Everything is still there. All distinctions are still there, but in a seed form. When you wake up, everything will come back again. So, but there is a kind of non-duality there, because there is no distinction. But the non-duality being spoken about here is the non-duality in the midst of all distinctions. The example of the ocean out there with 10,000 waves, and yet I can say there is only one without a two. What is that one without a two, the non-dual? The water. If you count the waves, 10,000 or more. If you bring in one more, water, will it be 10,000 plus one? No. It will be the one reality appearing as the 10,000. Gold is the one reality appearing as the 3 ornaments. You are the one consciousness appearing as waking, dreaming, deep sleep, and all the varieties within that. Even when we are awake, in the midst of this, the one who is enlightened, who knows himself as the Turiya, the fourth, realizes I and all of this is one reality. There is not one thing here, one person here, one event here, which is apart from me. I alone appear in all of these forms. That is the non-duality in the midst of dualities. And that's wonderful. You don't have to shut your eyes in deep sleep or deep meditation to shut out the world. You don't have to. If you want, you can. And if you don't want, if you want to be interacting with the world, you still can. The same piece of deep meditation will continue in your day-to-day activities because of this knowledge. It's wonderful. It makes you absolutely relaxed and free living this life. There is no obstruction anywhere. There's no real way of putting it. In Hindi, it's so powerful. I will try to translate. one teacher put it this way. Advait pratiti ko mitata nahi. Non-duality, this philosophy of non-duality is not for wiping out the experience of the world. When is the experience of the world wiped out? In deep sleep or in samadhi, experience of the world is wiped out. But this philosophy is not for wiping out the experience of the world. You can still be in the body and still interact with everything. What does Advaita do then? In Hindi he said, Advait to aapko nirbad bana, vyavahar mein nirbad banata hai. In action, in transaction with the world, it makes you limitless, fearless, absolutely relaxed. Neither life nor death make any difference to you. Let this body live for 100 years, let it die today, it makes no difference to you. It's an appearance. You know clearly that you are not it. So that kind of fearlessness, detachment comes to you. Devaha Turiya. The fourth, it uses the word Deva. Deva normally means God or a deity. Literally, it means the shining one. The div, the source verb means to shine. Because your consciousness itself, you are called Devaha, the shining one. Vibhu, all-pervading. Vibhu means all-pervading. See, a kind of mistake may still lurk in our minds. All right, waking, dreaming, deep sleep, I am none of that. I am the consciousness in which they appear and disappear, and I am not affected by any of it. Good, great. And here are so many other people. They all have their waking, dreaming, deep sleep. So they all must be separate pure consciousnesses. I am one pure consciousness, one Turiya, and there must be so many others here. He says, no, there is only one. That alone appears as all of these. So we are literally, actually, in the most literal sense of the word, we are one reality. You're not separate beings. As bodies, we are separate. As minds, we are separate. But at our core, in depth, at the level of pure awareness, we are one. Another way of understanding this is, yes, at the physical level, at the waking level, we are separate. We can clearly see we are so many. We can count. At the mental level also, we are so many. Because our thoughts, feelings, emotions, our opinions, they differ. If you take an opinion poll here, you will find on the same question, people give different answers. So minds work differently. Our minds are also different. But imagine what happens in deep sleep. In deep sleep, your experience of deep sleep and his experience of deep sleep and my experience of deep sleep, they're all the same. Because in uniform blankness, there can't be any differentiation. When there's only no duality of knower and known, there can't be any differentiation. It's the same. Everybody has the same experience of deep sleep. If deep sleep, we have the same experience, imagine the consciousness beyond deep sleep. It has to be exactly the same. Pure consciousness in itself has to be the same. Vibhuhu, it's all pervading. It's not separate consciousnesses, but it's one consciousness in all beings. So that's one karika. Imagine how much he has packed into it. The next few karikas, he does a study, a compare and contrast study. Waking, dreaming, deep sleep, from 11th karika onwards. So what he's going to do, let me tell you quickly, and then we will take a look. Imagine the story of, the example of snake and rope. There are two things there, ignorance and error. We don't know the rope as rope, and therefore we make a mistake. It's a snake. Not knowing the rope as rope is called ignorance. Ignorance of the reality. And from ignorance of the reality comes the mistake, the error. What is the error? Oh, it's a snake. It's a snake. In the classic example, in Vedantic example, 3 people went by a little piece of rope abandoned in the darkness somewhere, semi-darkness. And one person said, oh, did you see there's a snake there? Oh, that thing I saw, went by it. It's not a snake. It is a crack on the earth. In the last earthquake, that place, it got a crack. It's a crack on the earth. And the third person said, no, it's not a snake. It's not a crack on the earth. It's just an old garland discarded from the temple. It's not a garland, it's not a crack on the earth, it's not a snake. All three are errors. The reality is it's a rope. Ignorance of the reality leads to error. Ignorance of the reality leads to error. Why am I saying this? Waker, dreamer, deep sleeper, and the fourth, pure consciousness. In Sanskrit, Vishwa, Taijasa, Pragya, and Turiya. Consider them in terms of ignorance and error. In the waking state, we have both ignorance and error. Normally, I do not know that I am the Turiya, I am the pure consciousness. Ignorance. I do not know the real nature, my real nature. And this is ignorance. And I have a consequent error. What's the error? I am this, body, mind, I am Sarvapriyananda. This is an error. I, the one pure consciousness, not knowing myself, ignorance. Next, I think of myself as a body, mind. Error. So both ignorance and error are present in the waking state. In the dream state, both ignorance and error are present. I do not know I am pure consciousness, and whatever I may be dreaming about, I am identified with that. I am this person who's being chased through the forest by a tiger or something like that. All of it is error. So ignorance and error are present in dream state also. Deep sleep. Deep sleep. There is ignorance because I don't know anything. I don't know that I am pure consciousness or anything at all. So ignorance is there. But no error. There is no error. No, I don't think anything there. Nothing right and nothing wrong also. I don't even think that I am a body and mind. If you're thinking that, you're not in deep sleep. So in deep sleep, the deep sleeper has ignorance but no error. Are you with me here? Blank. I do not know. But I don't know anything wrong either. But Turiya, pure consciousness, has neither ignorance nor error. So this is how the study is going to be. What Gaudapada is going to say in these verses, basically if you keep this in mind, the waker has ignorance and error, the dreamer has ignorance and error, the deep sleeper has only ignorance, but pure consciousness, what he means by pure consciousness is, when you realize that I am that pure consciousness, you are beyond both ignorance and error. All right. Karika 11. Let us, you can chant after me. Karya karana baddhauto, Karya karana baddhauto, Ishyete vishwatejaso, Ishyete vishwatejaso, Pragya karana baddhastu, Pragya karana baddhastu, Dvauto turyena siddhyata, Dvauto turyena siddhyata. Cause and effect. Cause is ignorance, effect is error. Cause is ignorance, not knowing that I am pure consciousness. And the effect is, I think I am body and mind. Now look at what he says. Vishwa and Taijasa. Who is Vishwa? The waker. Who is Taijasa? The dreamer. The waker and the dreamer are limited by cause and effect, ignorance and error. Pragya, the deep sleeper. The deep sleeper is limited by only the cause. Karana baddha is only limited by the cause. What is the cause? Ignorance. And both of them are not there. Both limitations are not there for Turiya. Both limitations means cause and effect. What is cause and effect? Ignorance and error. Let me repeat. The waker and the dreamer both have ignorance and error. Here in Gaudapada's language, both have cause and effect. Cause is ignorance and effect is error. Deep sleeper, pragya, has only cause. Cause means ignorance. In deep sleep, just nothing, blank, do not know. But, no, that reminds me. Did you know there's a subject called ignorance studies? I did not know either. I was ignorant of ignorance studies. It's only last year in New York there is a well-known university called the New School. And it's not very new, it's actually quite old. But But it's very famous. Some of the most brilliant academics have come there and taught in different subjects. So they organized a seminar, a 2-day workshop on unknowability. So unknowability in physics, unknowability in mathematics, unknowability in social sciences, unknowability in history, and so on and so forth. Very interesting. They had some of the most brilliant scholars from all over the world invited. One of the last speakers was in sociology, I think, and she was a professor from England. And she said, she's the editor of the new edition. There's a Routledge Handbook of Ignorant Studies. I thought that, let me check up before I say this today. So in my room, I Googled it. First edition already sold out. Second edition is being printed. So I don't know what they do in ignorant studies. They go about saying, I don't know, or something. No, apparently it's a very serious area of study. So ignorant studies. And she was surprised when I told her, this ignorance, ajnana, is a very central topic in Indian philosophy. So ignorant studies is very old. Thousands of years old, not just now. She was not aware. She said, whom can I contact? Who will tell? I gave her a list of professors of Indian philosophy in Oxford and Cambridge and all. So hopefully in the second edition. First edition, there was nothing included from Vedanta or any other Indian philosophy for ignorant studies. I hope in the second edition she'll do something. So ignorance, the deep sleeper is bound by ignorance, but not by the effect of ignorance, which is error. But pure consciousness is free of both. So that's the meaning of 11th verse. Remember, what is Gaudapada doing here? All the materials which have been provided by the Upanishad, he's putting it together and trying to compare and contrast. What is the difference between waker, dreamer, deep sleeper, and trying to see how is it all different from the fourth, pure consciousness which I am, which we realize we are when we are enlightened. 12th, further down this road, 12th Karika. Natmanam na param shaiva, natmanam na parang shaiva, na satyam na pichanritam, na satyam na pichanritam, pragya kinchana samvetti, pragya kinchana samvetti, turiye tat sarvadrik sada, turiye tat sarvadrik sada. He's distinguishing between deep sleeper and the fourth, between pragya and turiya, between our deep sleep condition and enlightenment. What's the difference? He says, in deep sleep, one does not know oneself. One never feels, I am in deep sleep. Never. It's not possible. You do not know anything else either. Other people, the world, or dreams, nothing is known. You don't know yourself, you don't know anything else. Na satyam, the reality that I am pure consciousness, not known in deep sleep. Na anritam, the falsity. Falsity means waking and dreaming worlds. That also is not known. Nothing is known in deep sleep. Pragya kinchana na samvetti. The deep sleeper does not realize any of these things. But turiyam, pure consciousness, tat sarvadrik sada. The enlightened one shines in all states. You are always awareness. So in waking, you're aware that you are pure awareness only. In waking, experiencing everything. In dreams, the same thing. In deep sleep, will you be aware I am awareness in deep sleep? No. What will happen is, you know the darkness of deep sleep, the potential state comes up, illumined by you, the pure consciousness. And when you wake up, your idea will be, I was the same unchanging consciousness in deep sleep. The mind went into deep sleep, the mind went into waking, the mind goes into dreams, and it cycles back and forth. I am the witness of it all. So that will be the experience. The waker and the dreamer, whatever we see in the waking and dreaming, they are all appearances, false in themselves. The truth is you, the consciousness, the witness consciousness. There's a story about this. The great emperor Janaka, who is a well-known character in Vedantic stories. So one day, this emperor Janaka, he went to sleep at night, having done his royal duties and everything, retired off to bed, and suddenly he was woken by a hammering on the door. Wake up, sir, your highness, wake up, wake up. What happened? We are under attack. The enemy has attacked us. Oh, quickly, call the generals, call the cavalry, give me my bow and arrow, my armor. So he puts on everything and goes off to fight. And there's a terrible fight. Unfortunately, poor Janaka is defeated in the fight. And the invader captures his empire and captures the king, the emperor Janaka. And he's brought before the invader. And the invader says, you are of royal blood, so I will not kill you, but you are now exiled from your empire. It's my territory now. Poor Janaka, the day before he was an emperor, now he's nobody. So he stumbles through his kingdom, his empire, then nobody will give him food or water. He's terribly thirsty and hungry and unhappy. Somehow goes to the next kingdom across the border, which leads you one to think it couldn't have been a very big empire if he can cross it in a few hours. Then in the next kingdom, food is being distributed to poor people, like a soup kitchen, and he stands there. The story is khichdi, the Indian rice and lentil soup. So he's about to get that khichdi being given to the poor people, and by the time he reaches, there's nothing left, and he says, for the love of God, give me whatever is there. I'm so terribly unhappy and thirsty and tired. And so a little bit of gruel was left at the bottom of the big pot, and that was given to the ex-emperor. And he's going to, with trembling hands, going to sip that when a kite circling above swoops down and knocks the bowl from his hand. And that is too much. It falls in the ground. And Janaka, he can't take it anymore. He falls on the ground weeping. And here's where translation breaks down. In Hindi, it was told to me, ha ha kar karte hue, crying out, ha ha. Ha ha in Hindi means exactly the opposite of what it means in English. In Hindi, it means alas. In Hindi or Sanskrit, alas, I am undone, alas. So the Hindi ha-ha, not the English ha-ha. And he falls down there, and he sits up in his bed, sweating, his chest thundering. At that moment, a less philosophical person, maybe we could have said, oh, it was a nightmare, I wonder what I ate. It was a nightmare. But Janaka is a philosopher. So when he sits up like this, his immediate reaction is, was that true or is this true? Maybe I fainted. Maybe that is true. I'm lying on the ground. I've fainted and I'm imagining everything is all right. I'm sitting in my palace. I might be dreaming this. And the guard rushes in. Sir, did you shout? Is anything wrong? And the emperor says, is this true or was that true? The guard is confused. He retreats. He calls the queen. The queen comes. What's wrong with the old man now? And she comes in. What's up? And he says, is this true or was that true? The queen is confused. She calls the doctor. Call the doctor. The doctor comes and takes the emperor's pulse. Your Highness, is there any uneasiness? Are you feeling anything, any pain? The emperor says, was that true or is this true? And this goes on. Next day it is all over the city, the capital city of Janaka, Mithila, where even in the, so it must be some kind of Twitter or something like that, you know. Everybody knows next morning that the emperor has gone crazy. Now the emperor's teacher, Ashtavakra. Ashtavakra comes to town and he hears that the emperor has gone crazy. So he goes to the emperor and says, Emperor, how are you today? And he sees in the court, the emperor is sitting surrounded by soldiers and the queen and the officers, and nothing is getting done. You ask the emperor to sign some important files or something. He says, is this true or was that true? Nothing is getting done. So the Ashtavakra, the great sage, comes and says, Emperor, how are you today? And the emperor says, was that true or is this true? Now Ashtavakra knows everything, what is in the mind of the emperor. He says, O emperor, when you were rolling in the dust in agony and in despair over your defeat, this glory, this power, your queen and generals and the army, any of this was there? He says, no. And now when you are sitting here, surrounded by your power and glory, that defeat, that humiliation, that terrible circumstances, any of it is here? He says, no. Then, O emperor, neither this is true nor that is true. At this, the emperor is stunned. This is not true, that is not true, is nothing true. Ashtavakra says, Emperor, that is not true, but did you see it? Were you there? Yeah, I saw it. I was there. And this is also not true, but are you seeing it? Yes, I can't deny I'm seeing it. Then, Emperor, neither this is true nor that is true, but you are the truth. You are the reality. What is that you? That turiya, which is not affected by ignorance or by error. So, um, there he does not bring in deep sleep, but it's exactly the story explains what we have been studying so far. Let's do one more karika and we'll stop. 13th karika. Dvaitasya tulyam Dvaitasya tulyam Ubhayo pragyaturyayoh Ubhayo pragyaturyayoh Bija nidrayutah pragya Bija nidrayutah pragya Sachaturyena vidyate Sachaturyena vidyate. Very beautiful verse. It still continues contrasting deep sleep and enlightenment. It says, Dvaitasya agrahanam tulyam ubhayo pragyaturyayo. Duality is not seen both in deep sleep and in enlightenment. But there's a big difference. In deep sleep, duality is not experienced at all. Blank. Deep sleep, blank. Duality is not experienced at all. You don't see anything. No difference. In enlightenment, it's not that duality is not experienced. You see all the differences, but you know it's false. Non-duality alone is true. So non-duality is there both in deep sleep and in enlightenment, of course in different ways. In deep sleep, there's an experience of non-duality, that there is no difference. In enlightenment, even when you're awake, even when you're seeing all this difference, you know it's non-dual. There's only one non-dual reality, which is my own reality. And then, but there's a difference. Bija nidra yuta pragya. Deep sleep is associated with non-duality, but also bija means seed. In deep sleep, the seed of duality is present because you wake up immediately and all the problems and all the issues, they come back again. But neither sleep nor the seed of duality is present in illumination. Once you realize, I am that, then after that, there is no question of any ignorance, there is no question of any error. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat.